by John C. Maxwell. The law of navigation continued. Let me just change something about this slide. Like this. Yeah. All right. The other team of people was led by Robert Falcon Scott. So this is about two people that were trying to get to Antarctica first. Okay. Robert Falcon Scott, a British naval officer who had previously done some exploring in the Antarctic area. Scott's expedition was the antithesis of Amundsen's. Instead of using dog sleds, Scott decided to use motorized sledges and ponies. Their problems began when the motors on the sledges stopped working only 5 days into the trip. The ponies didn't fare well either in those frigid temperatures. When they reached the foot of the Transantarctic Mountains, all of the poor animals had to be killed. Wow. As a result, the team members themselves ended up hauling the 200-pound sledges. It was arduous work. Scott hadn't given enough attention to the team's other equipment either. Their clothes were so poorly designed that all of the men developed frostbite. One team member required an hour every morning just to get his boots onto his swollen, gangrenous feet. Oof. Everyone became snowblind because of the inadequate goggles Scott had supplied. On top of everything else, the team was always low on food and water. That was also due to Scott's poor planning. The depots of supplies Scott established were inadequately stocked, too far apart, and often poorly marked, which made them very difficult to find. Because they were continually low on fuel to melt snow, everyone became dehydrated. Whoa. Making things even worse was Scott's last minute decision to take along a fifth man, even though they had prepared enough supplies for only four. After covering a grueling 800 miles in 10 weeks, Scott's exhausted group finally arrived at the South Pole on January 17, 1912. There they found the Norwegian flag flapping in the wind and a letter from Amundsen. The other well-led team had beaten them to their goal by more than a month. Wow. Okay. If you don't live by the law of navigation. Scott's expedition to the pole is a classic example of a leader who could not navigate for his people. But the trek back was even worse. Scott and his men were starving and suffering from scurvy, yet Scott, unable to navigate to the very end, was oblivious to their plight. Wow. With time running out and the food supply desperately low, Scott insisted that they collect 30 pounds of geological specimens to take back, more weight to be carried by the worn out men. The group's progress became slower and slower. One member of the party sank into a stupor and died. Oh. Another, Lawrence Oates, a former army officer who had originally been brought along to take care of the ponies, had frostbite so severe that he had trouble doing anything. Because he believed he was endangering the team's survival, he purposely walked out into a blizzard to keep from hindering the group. Oh shit. Before he left the tent and headed into the storm, he said, I am just going outside. I may be some time. Wow. Oof, so sad. Hi, McDoney. Hello. Is this the Bible? No, this is not the Bible. Oh my god, so many Bible loving people around here. This is the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. I get asked to read the Bible regularly. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you to that one person who sent a like my way. I encourage others to the same. So, yeah, this book is about leadership. Scott and his final two team members made it only a little farther north before giving up. The return trip had already taken 2 months, and still they were 150 miles from their base camp. There they died. Wow. We know their story only because they spent their last hours updating their diaries. Wow, wow, wow. Some of Scott's last words were these: "We shall die like gentlemen. I think this will show that the spirit of pluck and power to endure has not passed out of our race." Okay, some optimism there. And there's a separate sentence on the page. Because Robert Falcon Scott was unable to live by the law of navigation, he and his companions died by it. Okay, and let's remind ourselves what the law of navigation is according to the author. Anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. Okay. And thank you to that other person who sent another like. Thank you. I appreciate each like, each comment. Others, you can follow the lead and give me some likes for my reading session. I'm reading these books for myself and also for yours, for you guys. Where the leader goes. No. Yeah. No. Okay, that's not it. Before that, we have more sections. Scott had courage but not leadership. Because he was unable to live by the law of navigation, he and his companions died by it. Okay. Followers need leaders able to effectively navigate for them. Hmm. When they are facing life and death situations, the necessity is painfully obvious. But even when consequences aren't as serious, the need is also great. The truth is that nearly anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. That is the law of navigation. You need to plan carefully, in other words, yeah? Navigators see the trip ahead. Former General Electric Chairman Jack Welch asserts, "A good leader remains focused. Controlling your direction is better than being controlled by it." Unquote. Welch is right, but leaders who navigate do even more than control the direction in which they are and their people travel. They see the whole trip in their minds before they leave the dock. They have vision for getting to their destination. They understand what it will take to get there. They know who they'll need on the team to be successful, and they recognize the obstacles long before they appear on the horizon. Leroy Imes, author of Be the Leader You Were Meant to Be, writes, quote, "A leader is one who sees more than others see, who sees farther than others see, and who sees before others do." Unquote. Mm. And the same idea is quoted separately on the page, so I'll read it again. "A leader is one who sees more than others see, who sees farther than others see, and who sees before others do." The larger the organization, the more clearly the leader has to be able to see ahead. That's true because sheer size makes mid-course corrections more difficult. And if there are errors in navigation, many more people are affected than when a leader is traveling alone or with only a few people. The disaster shown in James Cameron's 1997 film Titanic was a good example of that kind of problem. The crew could not see far enough ahead to avoid the iceberg altogether, and they could not maneuver enough to change course once the object was in view because of the size of the ship. The result was that more than 1,000 people lost their lives. Where the leader goes. First rate navigators always have in mind that other people are depending on them and their ability to chart a good course. I read an observation by James A. Autry in Life and Work, A Manager's Search for Meaning, that illustrates this idea. He writes that occasionally you hear about the crash of four military planes flying together in a formation. The reason for the loss of all four is this: when jet fighters fly in groups of four, one pilot, the leader, designates where the team will fly. The other three planes fly on the leader's wing, watching him and following him wherever he goes. Whatever moves he makes, the rest of his team will make along with him. That's true whether he soars in the clouds or smashes into a mountaintop. Oh, Before good leaders take their people on a journey, they go through a process in order to give the trip the best chance of being a success. Navigators draw on past experience. Every past success and failure you've experienced can be a valuable source of information and wisdom, if you allow it to be. Successes teach you what you're capable of doing and give you confidence. However, your failures often teach greater lessons. They reveal wrong assumptions, character flaws, errors in judgment, and poor working methods. Ironically, many people hate their failures so much that they quickly cover them up instead of analyzing them and learning from them. As I explain in my book, Failing Forward, if you fail to learn from your mistakes, you're going to fail again and again. Why do I even mention something that seems so basic? Because most natural leaders are activists. They tend to look forward, not backward, make decisions, and move on. I know this because this is my tendency. But for leaders to become good navigators, they need to take time to reflect and learn from their experiences. That's why I have developed the discipline of reflective thinking. I write about it in detail in my book, Thinking for a Change. But allow me to give you some advantages of reflective thinking here. Reflective thinking gives you true perspective, gives emotional integrity to your thought life, increases your confidence in decision making, clarifies the big picture, and takes a good experience and makes it a valuable experience. Each benefit gives a leader a great advantage when planning next steps for a team or organization. Well, thank you to the third person who sent another like my way. I appreciate each and every like. Others, I invite you to like this live. If you enjoy me reading the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership for you, then pay it back with likes, with comments, with shares, and so on. Navigators examine the conditions before making commitments. Drawing on experience means looking inward. Examining conditions means looking outward. No good leader plans a course of action without paying close attention to current conditions. That would be like setting sail against the tide or plotting a course into a hurricane. Good navigators count the cost before making commitments for themselves and others. They examine not only measurable factors such as finances, resources, and talent, but also intangibles such as timing, morale, momentum, culture, and so on. I'll discuss this more in the laws of intuition and timing. And another quote on the page: no matter how much you learn from the past, it will never tell you all you need to know for the present. Okay, I'll keep today's reading session short. Our little doggy is excited. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for the likes. Hopefully, tomorrow we'll have a much longer reading session, normally between 30 to 40 minutes, sometimes more than that. A high five to you all. If you're new to my channel, subscribe and you can discover the previous reading sessions in the playlist. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye.